Daniel Carter adjusted the collar of his shirt for what felt like the 10th time that evening. The soft yellow lights of the small Italian restaurant cast a warm glow across the tables, reflecting off polished glasses and silverware. Couples laughed quietly around him, leaning close across candlelit tables, their conversations blending into a gentle hum. But at Daniel's table, there was only silence. Across from him sat an empty chair. He checked his watch again. 7:18 p.m. The date had been set for 7 o'clock. Maybe traffic, he muttered to himself, trying to stay optimistic. The waiter walked past, pausing with a polite smile. "Would you like to order something while you wait, sir?" Daniel forced a friendly grin. "Maybe just water for now." The waiter nodded and disappeared toward the kitchen. Daniel leaned back slightly in his chair, letting out a quiet sigh. Dating hadn't been part of his life for a long time. Between work and raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, most evenings were filled with homework, bedtime stories, and trying to convince her that vegetables were not the enemy. Tonight had been different. For the first time in years, he had asked someone out. He had even spent 20 minutes choosing a shirt while Lily sat on the bed giving fashion advice. "Wear the blue one, Daddy," she had said seriously. "You look less tired in it." Daniel smiled at the memory. His phone buzzed on the table, pulling him back to reality. He picked it up quickly, a flicker of hope crossing his face. But the message wasn't from his date. It was from the babysitter. "Lily finished dinner and is watching cartoons. Everything's good here," slightly smiling face. Daniel typed back, "Thanks. Tell her I'll be home soon." He placed the phone down and stared at the empty chair again. The candle between the plates flickered gently, almost mockingly. Around him, the restaurant felt suddenly louder. Laughter, glasses clinking, soft music playing from hidden speakers. Another 10 minutes passed. No message, no call. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck and exhaled slowly. "Well," he whispered to himself, reaching for his jacket, "looks like I've officially been stood up." He stood from the table, ready to leave. But just as he turned toward the door, the restaurant entrance opened. And someone unexpected walked in. The cool evening air slipped into the restaurant as the door slowly opened. Daniel had just picked up his jacket and was preparing to leave when the sound of heels clicking against the polished floor caught his attention. Normally he wouldn't have noticed, but something about the sudden shift in the room made him glance toward the entrance. A woman had just walked in. She carried herself with calm confidence, the kind that naturally made people look twice. She wore a tailored navy suit and a long beige coat draped over one arm. Her dark hair was neatly styled, and her expression was focused yet relaxed, as if she were used to walking into rooms where everyone suddenly became curious. A few conversations in the restaurant briefly paused. Daniel looked away again, assuming she was meeting someone else. After all, he had his own problems to worry about, like the embarrassing reality that his date never showed up. He slid his arm into his jacket sleeve. But then he noticed something strange. The woman wasn't heading toward the hostess stand. She wasn't scanning the room like someone searching for a table. Instead, she walked directly toward him. Daniel frowned slightly. "That's odd," he thought. Her heels stopped beside his table. "Daniel Carter?" she asked. Her voice was calm, professional, but not unfriendly. Daniel blinked in surprise. "Yes, that's me." The woman extended her hand. "I'm Victoria Hale." Daniel shook her hand automatically, still trying to process what was happening. "Nice to meet you," he said cautiously. Then she added something that made him pause. "CEO of Hale Industries." Daniel's eyebrows lifted. The name was familiar. Extremely familiar. Hale Industries was one of the fastest growing logistics and technology companies in the country. Their systems were used by corporations all over the world. He glanced around the restaurant for cameras, half expecting this to be some kind of strange prank. "Okay," Daniel said slowly. "Either I'm more famous than I thought, or you've got the wrong table." Victoria glanced at the empty chair across from him. Then she calmly sat down. "No," she said, placing her coat neatly over the back of the chair. "I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Daniel lowered himself back into his seat, confusion written across his face. The waiter returned with his glass of water but hesitated when he saw Victoria sitting there. "Would either of you like to order?" the waiter asked politely. Victoria smiled slightly. Not yet, thank you. The waiter nodded and stepped away. Daniel leaned forward slightly. All right, he said. I feel like I missed an important chapter here. Victoria folded her hands calmly on the table. That's understandable, she replied. Daniel gestured toward the empty chair again. I was actually waiting for a date, he said. Victoria nodded. I know. That made him pause again. You, no. Victoria's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Yes, she said, and I promise there's a very unusual reason why I'm sitting here instead. Daniel leaned back in his chair, curiosity finally replacing his earlier disappointment. Well, he said with a half laugh, this night just got a lot more interesting. Victoria reached into her bag. And we're just getting started, she replied. Daniel watched carefully as Victoria reached into her leather bag and pulled out a slim black folder. She placed it gently on the table between them, her movements calm and deliberate. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The soft music playing in the background mixed with the quiet murmur of conversations around them. To anyone else in the restaurant, it probably looked like two professionals meeting over dinner. But to Daniel, the situation still felt unreal. He let out a small laugh. Okay, he said, leaning back slightly. I'm officially confused. A CEO walks into a restaurant, finds a random guy who just got stood up, and now she's pulling out a mysterious folder. Victoria's expression softened slightly. You're not random, Daniel. She slid the folder across the table toward him. Daniel hesitated before opening it. Inside were several neatly organized documents. The first page had the bold heading, Hale Industries, Executive Appointment Proposal. His eyes widened slightly. Executive, he murmured. Victoria leaned forward slightly. I've been reviewing your work for months, she said. Daniel looked up in surprise. My work, she nodded. You designed the logistics optimization system for Carter and Blythe 3 years ago, she continued. It reduced their delivery delays by 30% and saved them millions in operational costs. Daniel blinked. That project was a team effort, he said modestly. Victoria gave a small smile. Your team built it, she said. But you designed it. Daniel flipped through another page. The offer letter detailed a role titled, Director of Operations, Hale Industries. His heart started beating faster. The salary alone was more than he had ever earned in his life. He looked back up at her. You're serious about this? He asked. Very, Victoria replied. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. But I left that world 2 years ago, he said. I stepped away from corporate work. Victoria nodded as if she had expected that response. Yes, she said. You resigned shortly after your wife passed away. Daniel's expression changed slightly at the mention of it. For a moment, the noise of the restaurant seemed to fade. My daughter needed me, he said quietly. She was 5, he continued. Everything in her world had just fallen apart. Victoria listened carefully. So I chose the only thing that mattered, he added. Her expression held something that looked like respect. And that decision, she said softly, is exactly why I'm offering you this job. Daniel frowned slightly. I don't follow. Victoria folded her hands on the table. A lot of people in this industry are brilliant, she said. But very few have their priorities straight. Daniel glanced down at the offer again. You're offering a leadership position to a guy who's been freelancing from home and packing school lunches every morning, he said with a faint smile. Victoria returned the smile. Exactly. Daniel looked back at her, curiosity growing. Why me? He asked. Victoria leaned forward slightly. Because skill can be taught, she said. Then she added quietly, but character can't. Daniel sat silently for a moment, absorbing everything. Just 30 minutes ago, he had been sitting alone at a table, wondering how he'd explain another failed attempt at dating to his daughter. Now, a CEO was offering him the opportunity of a lifetime. He shook his head with a soft laugh. I have to admit, he said, this is not how I imagined tonight going. Victoria's eyes sparkled slightly. Oh, she replied, we're not finished yet. Daniel stared at the folder in front of him, the words, Director of Operations, Hale Industries, still sinking in. His mind raced, imagining the career possibilities, the financial stability, and the recognition that came with such a role. But beneath it all, another feeling emerged, a quiet tug at his heart, a protective instinct for Lily that made him pause. Victoria noticed the hesitation and leaned forward slightly, her dark eyes meeting his. There was an intensity there that went beyond business, something almost personal. "There's something else you need to know," she said softly. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Another twist. Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She swiped it open and handed it to him. On the screen was a photograph. Lily, his little girl, smiling brightly at what looked like a school science fair. She was standing next to another child, gently guiding them through a tricky experiment. Daniel froze. His heart skipped a beat. "That's my daughter." Victoria nodded. "Yes, my niece goes to the same school. She told me about a girl who helped her during the science fair, even when other kids were teasing her. I asked around and found out it was your daughter." Daniel blinked, emotion threatening to well up. He remembered Lily talking about a girl who had teased another student that week, and how she had helped them quietly without mentioning it to him. Seeing it through someone else's eyes now, through Victoria's eyes, it hit him differently. She did that," he whispered, "and nobody told me." Victoria smiled gently. "She didn't need anyone to notice. But I did, and anyone who raises a child with that kind of heart, is someone I want on my team." Daniel looked down at the folder again, then back at Victoria. The offer, the recognition, the career opportunity, it all suddenly carried a deeper meaning. This wasn't just about money or status. It was about people, values, and character. And in that moment, he realized that Victoria wasn't here merely for a business transaction. She had seen something in him that he had always tried to nurture quietly, something that mattered more than any job or title. He let out a slow breath, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. For the first time that evening, he smiled fully, not the forced smile he had given the waiter earlier, but a real one. "Funny," he said, looking at the empty chair across from him. "The worst date of my life might just turn out to be the best night I've had in years." Victoria's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Sometimes," she said, "life has a way of showing up exactly when it needs to." Daniel looked around the restaurant again. The laughter, the clinking glasses, the soft hum of conversation, it all felt different now, warmer somehow. He realized he wasn't alone anymore. Not tonight, and not in the days to come. He closed the folder and extended a hand across the table, not just to shake hers, but as a silent promise to step into this next chapter with courage, for both himself and Lily. Victoria took it firmly, and as their hands met, Daniel knew that his life had just changed forever.